What's going on, you guys? This is Mark with the Chumpcast. I'm going to go ahead and give you all my top 12 Batman graphic novels to keep you sane and give you something to do during this coronavirus quarantine. So stay tuned. All right, so before we get into it, do me a favor and click that subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell so you can get updates whenever we post new videos. But first, I want to share some personal and exciting news since our YouTube and other social media accounts have been pretty quiet lately. As some of you may know, our podcast attended C2E2 a few weeks back alongside the Chuckload of Comics YouTube channel, where we hosted a booth we called Podcast Central. There we conducted some interviews with some awesome creators, including Andrew McLean, Dustin Nguyen, Joe Hill, Tom Richmond from Mad Magazine, Joshua Williamson, Tom King, Sven Gulli, and the list goes on. And you can check out all of those interviews on our page as well as the Chuckload of Comics YouTube channel. I'll leave a link down in the description below. But anyways, getting into that news, no more than 15 minutes after I got home from that long weekend at C2E2 where I stayed overnight Saturday, and I got home at like 7:30 on Sunday, my wife and I rushed back to the hospital in downtown Chicago. She was pregnant at the time, and we actually welcomed our first child, a baby boy. His name is Nolan James. Shit, I'm about to cry. And I've been getting some questions from people as to where we came up with the name Nolan. It happens to be my mother's maiden name and also my middle name, but it happens to also be the last name of the director of my favorite Batman films. I'll just leave it at that. And as you can see from the shirt I'm wearing, the Batman logo here that says Dad Man. Usually it's Bat Dad. I don't know. This is probably just a knockoff version, but it'll do. I'm very pumped to be a father, which brings me to one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this video. But the first reason being we're in some crazy ass times right now with all this scare around the coronavirus. And I wanted to share with you my top 12 favorite Batman graphic novels to keep you guys all busy and give you something to do while you're all being quarantined. But I started to think, what Batman stories would I want my son to read as he grows up and is introduced more and more to the Caped Crusader? So here it goes. Starting at number 12, we have Batman Earth 1, written by Jeff Johns and art by Gary Frank. This story is a more recent telling of Batman's earlier days, like we get in Batman Year One. There's some amazing art in this book done by Frank, who gives a lot of attention to detail and literally makes every panel in this book clean and crisp. Some major differences, though, in this story as compared to like a Year One is that we get a new take on Alfred to where he's just a full-fledged badass and has this military background. And we also get this first appearance of a pretty interesting new Batman villain named Birthday Boy. He reminds me of a combination of, like, I would say Bane, Calendar Man, and then with his like mask that he has on, it kind of reminds me of Scarecrow too. So there's 2 graphic novel volumes. So this is number 1. There's a number 2, which I would obviously recommend picking up if you get into this. But overall, a great new take on Batman's younger years. And speaking of Bane, we have Batman Nightfall, volume number 1. This story is from a handful of writers, including Doug Mensch and Chuck Dixon. It also has some very classic art by Jim Aparo and some awesome covers all throughout the book by none other than Kelly Jones, the inventor, I'll call him, of the ridiculous but timeless long-eared Batman cowl. In my opinion, this story was a large inspiration for Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises. As you can see from the cover, we do have Bane performing the backbreaker on Batman, just like in the movie.
Oh, your bunny!
So this is a classic Bane story that literally everyone should read. It's where Bane breaks out of Arkham and releases all of the Gotham criminals along with him, which leads to the actual first downfall of Batman to where he's fully out of commission and thus has to pass on his mantle to John Paul Valley, who we soon realize is not a good look for Batman's legacy. He's a murderer. But don't want to spoil it too much. He later becomes a new character named Azrael, who is very well known now within the whole Batman world. Number 10 on my list is Batman Vampire: Tales of the Multiverse, another story written by Doug Mensch, and in this one we actually get art throughout the whole book by Kelly Jones. This graphic novel includes all 3 installments of the Batman Dracula trilogy. It starts with Batman and Dracula Red Rain, next is Batman Bloodstorm, and then it ends on Batman Crimson Mist. As you probably already guessed, this book takes place on an alternate Batman universe. To give you some background, Batman is acquainted by Count Dracula, and he learns that Dracula and his minions are going throughout Gotham and sucking all the blood out of the homeless. This actually leads to Batman becoming a vampire himself, so he can get the strength that he needs to actually stand a chance up against Dracula. Overall, if a multiverse, especially one that revolves around a blood-gulping Batman, is not your thing, please still give this book a chance. I think you'll be surprised at how much you actually enjoy this new take on Batman. For number 9 on the list, we have Batman Year One, written by Frank Miller. So this classic comic book art for Batman depicts him in his first years as being a crime-fighting vigilante. But just as important, if not more importantly, we get a look into Jim Gordon and all the drama surrounding his life after recently transferring from Chicago to become the new commissioner in Gotham City. While there isn't a defiant villain throughout this whole story, other than some brief appearances by Selina Kyle, this book proves it doesn't need one. Year One is just essentially about two men dealing with their personal issues and fair share of fuck-ups, which leads them to develop this close relationship and team up with one another, with the end goal, of course, of making Gotham a better place. Up at number 8 on the list, we have Dark Knight, A True Batman Story. This is written by Paul Dini. He is the producer and writer of Batman the Animated Series, and art is done by Eduardo Risso. This is not your typical Batman story. This is actually based on a true incident where Dini was nearly beaten to death during a mugging in 1993, which leads him to deal with all the trauma and pain that he's faced with afterwards through alcohol. Dini pretty much just bears it all in this graphic novel. He brings us along with him through all of his darkest points after these events. He incorporates Batman and some of Batman's villains throughout this whole story to embody the different emotions that he's feeling. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the story's about. This book is unique and very powerful in so many ways, making it not just a Batman must-read, but a must-read in general. Number 7, The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. Bruce Wayne has been in retirement for nearly 10 years, and he's showing that he still has some fight and an even more ruthless side now to him, which he displays by putting back on the Batsuit, grabbing a rifle, jumping on a horse, and proceeding to kick the crap out of a giant mutant and even Superman. This has some of my favorite takes of a Gotham City that's being overrun by evil. And if you were in the minority of people that actually truly enjoyed the Batman vs. Superman movie by Zack Snyder, you'll see that there is actually a lot of inspiration that film used from this book, such as you have Batman's oversized mechanical suit, and also some of the techniques that Batman decides to use in order to defeat Superman. There are also some very iconic moments of Joker on a talk show that you might be relating to Todd Phillips' Joker movie.
How about another joke, Murray?
But let me tell you, they're actually a lot more gruesome in this book than what they were in the movie. And I'll warn you, you might be a little bit overwhelmed when you buy this after opening it up, because it does have a lot of panels per page, but I can promise you, you'll be blown away by the storytelling and the buildup that you have page after page. And it leads to one of the greatest Batman endings of any comic book out there. Okay, we're halfway there. Number 6 is Batman Court of Owls, written by Scott Snyder and art by Greg Capullo. Snyder and Capullo are one of my favorite Batman team-ups to date. Capullo draws some of my favorite Batman depictions, and Snyder just knows how to create a Batman universe that's unlike anything we've ever seen. In this first volume of the Batman New 52 series that Capullo and Snyder have done, we get introduced to a organization of villains called the Court of Owls that are essentially just an underground society, and they basically leave Batman to now realize that he truly doesn't really know as much about Gotham as he thinks he does. What I really loved about this Batman story is that it truly utilized the gadgetry that Batman has and showed us the full extent of his detective skill set, all while displaying the brutal combat that he's learned through years of training. But the story doesn't stop there. The series continues with, I believe, 7 more graphic novels, 8 in total, ending with the final 8th graphic novel called Batman Super Heavy, all very worthwhile. Number 5 on the list is Batman the Black Mirror. This is written by Scott Snyder, and art is done by both Jock and Francisco Francavilla. So The Black Mirror was actually, I think, my favorite first graphic novel from Batman when I really started reading comics about 10 years ago. And Jock, as you can see, I have that framed Black Mirror, actually the cover of this. That's a signed print by Jock up there. He's been one of my favorite artists for Batman as well. Black Mirror takes place just before Court of Owls and features Dick Grayson as the new Batman, even after Bruce Wayne's return following the Final Crisis run by Grant Morrison. This story has some of the most underrated and also conflicting villains out there. We get the Dealer, which is a completely new character that was created by Snyder and Jock. And we also get a new take on James Gordon Jr., Commissioner Gordon's now murderous psychopath of a son. I gotta say, the rotation of Jock's and Francavilla's art throughout this whole book will keep you mesmerized. And Snyder leaves an unexpected twist at the end of this one that makes it one of the greatest Batman reads of all time. Number 4, The Killing Joke. Written by Alan Moore, and art is done by Brian Boland. If you love Batman and Joker face-offs, this is the book for you. And if there was a true Joker origin story, this would be it. The true depths of Joker's madness and thirst for chaos are on display in The Killing Joke, making it easily one of the most chilling looks at the clown prince of crime. On to the top 3. At number 3, we have The Long Halloween. This is written by Jeff Loeb, and the art is done by Tim Sale. God, I hope the new Pattinson Batman movie pulls inspiration from this story. So The Long Halloween is about a new villain that comes to Gotham that is murdering people on each of the holidays throughout the year. And throughout this book, we also get some great appearances from classic villains. This is by far one of the best mystery-focused Batman reads on the shelves, as well as visually one of the most distinctive and unmatched styles of art by Tim Sale. You're not going to want to put this one down. The runner-up coming in at the number 2 spot is Hush, written by Jeff Loeb, and art is done by none other than Jim Lee. To sum it up, Hush has everything that you could ever want in a Batman story. A new villain, return of old villains, Batman love interests, high stakes, and just a plot twist that you're not expecting. Hush gets its title from a new villainous mastermind named Hush, who is leveraging all of Batman's old foes and doing everything in his power to make the Dark Knight's life a living hell. So I try to refrain from calling artwork stunning, because to me that just sounds corny as fuck. But if I were to call any graphic novel and its art stunning, it would be this one right here. Jim Lee's work in Hush is truly stunning, and I would actually just recommend this to anyone, even if you weren't going to read it and just flip through the pages. It is worth it just to look at the art in the book. All right, what you all been waiting for, that number 1 spot goes to Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. And this one's written by Grant Morrison, and art is done by Dave McKean. I may get some pushback on this number 1, but I don't care. This is my goddamn list. I cannot recommend this Batman graphic novel enough. Wait till it gets dark out. Dim the light of your little reading lamp. I don't care if it's bad for your eyes, and just prepare your butts. A Serious House on Serious Earth leaves you feeling like you're experiencing the creepy, winding hallways of Arkham Asylum firsthand. In this story, Batman is faced with the challenge of fending off all of the rioting inmates that have overrun Arkham Asylum. And after each encounter with these inmates, he's starting to learn more and more about the messed up history behind this place. This is something as a Batman reader that you've really never had a glimpse into before. Everything about this book meshes perfectly together. The art, the writing, even the lettering. After reading this, I can guarantee you that you'll be thinking of this story for years to come. All right, so that is it. That is my top 12. Tell me what you guys think. Am I stupid? Did I miss a lot of graphic novels that you thought should have made the list? Batman's my favorite character. This is all my preference. These are all the stories that I've come to know and love over the years. But I know there's plenty of other great graphic novels out there. These are just the ones I prefer. But leave a comment below. Let me know what I missed, what you agree with. I want to hear from you guys. Also, if you could please click that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. Also, hit that notification bell. Helps the show. You get the updates whenever we put out new posts. But until next time, chumps out.